Should we burn a candle? Should we celebrate? Should we mourn? But it's on to the new 10-9-8-7. You already know what it is. Roll that intro, Chucks. Birds of a feather.
Let's go! This ain't the fuck like oh, this game he stinks!
Oh shit!
It's gone!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, brought to you by Fan Up, the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points, which is a $50 value. It is Super Bowl weekend, everybody. The big game is here. The culmination of everything from the football season leading up to this Sunday, the big game. And we are here to preview it all. We will give you in-depth breakdowns of the matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. But that's not all. We've got such an action-packed show for you tonight, because not only are we going to do that, we're going to talk about our predictions, our picks for the NFL Honors, which is tonight. It's not on Saturday anymore. It's on Thursday night. They moved it. So we are going to give our quick picks for who the award winners are for this NFL season. But that is not all, ladies and gentlemen, because the 76ers, the team that is on my shirt right now, has made a blockbuster deal, which we will talk about later in the show. We are definitely going to cover that. I know we are a football show, but with trade news this big, there's no way we can't talk about that. So we will discuss the James Harden, Ben Simmons trade later on in this show. We are live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and everywhere you download your podcast. So if you're listening to us live or you're listening to us on your commute, wherever you are, we appreciate the support. Of course, it's your boy Chuck's here, and to my left is my boy Pete. What's good, brother? How are you?
Hey, man, I can't complain. Anxious to get, well, not say rush to the show to get the no huddle, but definitely got some thoughts on the trade and this how people change from the Sixers hold on to him too long, and then we finally trade them all. The Sixers got fleeced, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to get into that. We'll definitely cover that trade and everything when it comes to Super Bowl and the big game on Sunday.
Yes.
So we have that. But like I said, we're going to kick it off first by giving a quick preview of the NFL Honor Show. And the first quarter of the show is brought to you by eXp Realty LLC. If you're looking to buy your home, whether it's if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, you're looking for a brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty. Hit him up at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. All right. So we're going to get into the poll question a little later when we do our Super Bowl preview. But let's do NFL Honors and Awards picks, because that show is coming up. I think
at 9 o'clock, right?
I thought it was 9. It's saying 9:30, but regardless, that's fine. We're going to talk about who we think will win these awards. And also, if we disagree with our predictions, like if we think it should be someone else, then we'll do that rather than who we think is going to end up winning it, because we know that who we think is going to end up winning the award's not always the right pick. So let's give our thoughts. So we're going to go down the line. Well, you know what? I'm going to start it off first. Let's go with the comeback player of the year, Pete. So there are a few. I'd say there are like 2 or 3 guys you could mention here with a realistic shot, but only one comes to my mind in terms of who I think should win it. But let's get your thoughts. Who would you pick for comeback player of the year? And if you think it's going to be someone else, you can mention them too. But who should get it? Who would you pick for comeback player of the year?
Who would I pick?
Both. Who do you think is going to win it, and who would you give it?
Who's the finalist? Tell me that first.
Oh, let me bring it up. I don't know who's.
Yeah, that was it. You asked me who like when you say who you think is going to win it, and then who should win it.
All right, let me run down. Let me go to NFL.com because let me see if that's so comeback player of the year. Well, they did their. I can't find the nominees, but
I think
NFL.com has 2 guys that all their panel voted for.
Okay.
So the nominees are Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow. Now there's also like you can think of Nick Bosa as a comeback player of the year because he came back from a torn ACL last year. Let me see if I can find them, but if you can, I don't know if you want to pick between those 3. So
well, I would take Dak out of it. Burrow is a good one, obviously because he's playing Sunday, right? So I think he would be the front runner to win. Now, somebody that I would pick the winner, I would think of that should be a finalist or however they do it, votes. He's also playing Sunday, and he's not on Cincinnati. He also tore his ACL a little over a year ago last season, early into the season last season. And he was crucified a little bit, but obviously the problem where he was at before wasn't him. And that's Odell. Odell tore his ACL. Yeah, Odell tore his ACL in October of 2020. Came back. First major injury he had outside of the ankle that he had. He was banged up for a couple years in the Giants. Everybody thought he lost a step. Everybody thought, okay, well, he wants out. He's being a problem. He's a problem in the locker room. Very similar as to the situation that we have right now, who the Sixers just acquired. People saying he's washed up. People saying the problem is him. People say he's out of shape. People say he's this. People say he's that. Well, I guess this person is going to say he's fucking playing on Sunday for a ring. That's what I'm going to tell you. And he's been getting better as the season has gotten on, and he's definitely showed out in the postseason. To where, I would give Odell serious consideration for comeback player of the year. Obviously, probably going to go to Burrow because it's the sexy position. The way he got hurt, where his team was at last year, and now where his team is at this year, I get it. But my pick person would be Odell Beckham Jr.
I like that pick, and you know that I'm a big fan of Odell. I think he got a bad rap from some members of the media and fans, I guess you can say, from his time in Cleveland. So I'm totally with that pick. I like that pick. I don't think he's going to win it. I think Joe Burrow is going to win it, and I think I would go with him because I think a lot of people are still in shock overall of how well the Bengals have done. I mean, I know for me, I had them as the last place in the division in AFC North. If we go back to our season prediction show right before the season started, I put the Bengals in last place. I thought they were still like a little while away, even though I liked a lot of their young players. So see them here where they have been, and you're talking about a guy who tore his ACL midway through the year, and it looked like he hasn't missed a beat, and all that considering his offensive line is still in shambles. Like it's still not a good offensive line. And he's still able to lead this team to where they are. I know for these awards, these are regular season awards.
But see, generally speaking, real quick, generally speaking, right? Does one person win more than one award? It's not like the Grammys when you have somebody that just wins a whole lot of shit. They usually try to divvy it up where they get 1-1. I almost think, let's just maybe spoil a little bit, but I wouldn't give Burrow the comeback player of the year because I think he deserves a bigger award.
Really? Okay, then don't. If he's your pick,
I'm just thinking strong case for. I think he has a strong case for a bigger award.
Okay.
Maybe just as strong as anybody else.
Okay. I don't mind that. I have an idea of what you're gonna, which award you're gonna give to him, but I'll let that come when we get to it. But I don't know. I don't want to argue too much against that because he should get a lot of credit. He should get a lot of credit. Let's go with Coach of the Year. All right, let's go with Coach.
Ooh.
I'll go first, and I will lead it off. And I will say that I know that a lot of people are going to pick Mike Vrabel. I know that NFL.com, he is the one that they pick. I know other sites had the same for Coach of the Year. And I get it because it's the Titans. They lost Derrick Henry, but they still ended up with the number 1 seed. But again, with how much of a surprise this Bengals team was, I have to go Zach Taylor.
Okay.
I mentioned the offensive line and how bad they are. The coaching job he's done to be able to have this explosive and dangerous of an offense, even with a bad offensive line, is phenomenal. The way he's been able to get Joe Mixon going in terms of being able to get him, finally giving him the notoriety and spotlight he deserves, and then also being able to use Ja'Marr Chase, advocating for that connection, that Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase connection. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Like what he's been able to do with this team is just amazing. And they're here again. I know it's not a regular season award. I mean, it's just a regular season award. That's what it's supposed to be. But man, like, he's done a phenomenal job bringing them from where they were last year to this year. Just it goes without. It speaks volumes. So I have to give it to Zach Taylor over Mike Vrabel.
It has to be one of those two, right? I mean, could you go LaFleur? I mean, yeah, it's a great regular season record, but I don't think he's won it yet, has he?
Did he win it last year?
Did he win it last year? It's hard between Vrabel and Taylor. Vrabel, obviously, with the more consistency. Vrabel had more adversity through the year by losing Derrick Henry, still getting a number 1 seed, and the record of the teams that he beat during the regular season. I think I would say Vrabel over Taylor just for the fact of the record of the teams that he beat and the manner that he beat based on the schedule and the cards that he was dealt that he had to play with. I mean, but I really think only those two have an argument. LaFleur, you can kind of a puncher's chance, but I mean, early in the year we thought it was Cliff Kingsbury. They were what 10-1, 10-0.
Yeah, and then
you know what I mean?
They fell off.
Yeah, I mean they fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
they fell off a cliff. So I mean, early in the year you would say Kingsbury, but I mean, just the consistency throughout the year, and is dealing with the adversity. I mean, don't get me wrong. The biggest adversity the Bengals face this year is the offensive line and inconsistency, figuring out who they were. But if you take Mixon away, if you take the biggest weapon or the bulk of your offense away from the Bengals, can Zach Taylor still not only win games but lock up a number 1 seed? You feel what I'm saying? Now, obviously, when they met head to head in the division round of the playoffs, we saw what happened. But I don't know how much of that was coaching out of just the players that were playing on the field.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
your team, you sacked the man 9 times. Like, I mean, you should win that game. You should win a game like that. You know what I mean? When
But
you
again, that's the award's supposed to be for regular season. Even though I disagree, I feel like these awards should include playoff results. That's I believe they should, but they don't. But regardless, I definitely see what you're saying. Like, I think it does come down to those two though, one or the other.
Yeah.
You want to go rookies?
Yeah, this should be interesting.
Okay, so offense or defense first? Well, okay, let's do defense because it's obvious. I think we know who's going to win the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Micah Parsons. I don't think there's really any debate. I know on NFL.com they have it as unanimous.
Yeah.
So
he's damn near the DPOY of the year, and almost.
You could make an absolute case for him too for defensive player of the year. So, defensive rookie of the year, obvious. Offensive rookie of the year, I think it's also kind of obvious, but I don't know if you want to make a case for someone else. So who are you thinking
for offensive rookie of the year?
Yeah.
I mean, front runner would be Ja'Marr Chase. But you see just the situation that he was in and who he had throwing the ball. You take that into account. Could make a case for Jalen Waddle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can also make a case for Mac Jones, in my opinion. Jalen Waddle, obviously, for the reason that he didn't have a Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. He didn't have an offensive-minded coach. And you see the bullshit that they was dealing with team-wise turmoil behind the scenes, how disarrayed the Dolphins were. Now, speaking of the Dolphins, good hire, Mike McDaniel. Jalen Waddle is going to be a fantasy beast now. I don't know who has him, maybe in some dynasty leagues, some keeper leagues, but great. You're looking great right now. Great right now. But, I mean, those are the people you can make. In my opinion, you can make a case for. Ja'Marr Chase, obviously front runner, most likely to win it. Probably not at these awards as he's getting ready for the big game on Sunday. Jalen Waddle and Mac Jones. Mac Jones is for the fact that he stepped into a role, looked good, had his struggles. He kind of tailed off towards the end of the season, but got his team to the playoffs. You know, I mean, for a moment there, if they didn't run into the buzzsaw that was the Buffalo Bills for the third time, different story. But he gave a good showing. But ultimately, I think it's going to be Ja'Marr Chase. I think that's I want to say easy way out. But, I mean, what the man did against NFL competition, not playing a whole year in 2020, he sat out. People forget that. And that was a big question. Well, maybe he'd be a little off on him. How long would it take him to get in and get acclimated? And then he says, oh, well, the stripes on the ball is a little bit different. And then my man goes for what he had, like 1,500 receiving yards or something like that. Something crazy, a couple 200-yard games. The game against
he had
a 200-yard game against Baltimore, and he had a 200-yard game against Kansas City.
Yep. I'm trying to find out what his stats were. No, he set rookie records, so
yeah,
he's absolutely part of the conversation. Where is it? Yeah, I can't find his records, but yeah, 1940s. No, that's someone else. Sorry, but yeah, he's absolutely, to me, he's offensive rookie of the year. So the rookies are easy to go with. I mean, they're easy picks. Defensive player of the year. We talked about Micah Parsons could absolutely be mentioned. I talked about Nick Bosa as a comeback player of the year candidate. I think he should be mentioned here too.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to mention as part of the conversation Aaron Donald. Like,
yes,
he's always going to be part of the conversation. It's also almost like it's so obvious to include Aaron Donald, and it's so obvious that he is the best defensive player in the game that, like, if you technically look at it, he should get this award every single year. But, you know, it is also based on I guess, merit and to an extent, like the stats you put up, to an extent. So that being said, the favorite here is going to be TJ Watt for breaking the single season sack record. I guess I would agree with that, and I would give it to TJ Watt. He would probably get my vote. Because again, for a single season, if you break the single season sack record, and he missed a few games, yeah, it's you deserve that award.
Not in agreement totally with you because of the fact of yes, he missed games, but I don't know what his stat line was the last game of the season, but that 17th game gave him extra opportunities. He didn't break the record. He tied the record at 20 and a half. Still impressive.
Yeah.
Still impressive. But I think he really only has one responsibility. I mean, and it's really just go get quarterback. To where I look at Parsons was all over the field. It was some he was a linebacker, some he was sometimes for weeks on end he was a lineman. I still think he racked up almost 10 sacks. You got Aaron Donald, but also I mean you got to take a look into account J.C. Jackson, Trayvon Diggs. I mean it's hard for a corner to get it. I mean Trayvon Diggs had 11 picks. That doesn't. I mean,
but to be honest, AJ Terrell was a better corner than.
No, true, but all these shits really. If it was truly the best defensive player of the year, it would be Aaron Donald. Like if you just look at he, if that's really what it was, it's the best defensive player. It would be between Aaron Donald and Micah Parsons. That's who we would. Those two would sit at the cream of the crop by themselves. They're on the top of the hill, and it just scares the shit out of me that Parsons is only in his first year. And I'm looking at Mox now, and Mox is talking about that Kobe Dean is going to fall to him. Like I don't need that in my life. I don't need the both of them on the same damn team playing the same. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. That'd be crazy. But no, I mean I could see TJ getting it, honestly, but I can see TJ getting it, honestly, but honestly, I don't. It's hard for me to say. Like,
there's nothing wrong if you I get it. It's hard to these awards because like the awards, a lot of it is very production heavy. If you're going to produce the most, you're going to get a lot of votes and merit, and a lot of people are going to argue that you have to get it. So if you tying the single season sack record, you have a very strong case to win it. Now, this is where I always say that context is key, because just because he put up all those sacks doesn't mean he was doing the most or, playing the best out of every defensive player. So that's where I totally understand. And so, like, I totally agree with your Aaron Donald assessment, and that's the truth. Aaron Donald should win this award every single year.
Yes.
You should win the award every single year. So if I'm really picking based on who the best defensive player is, it's Aaron Donald. That's just how it goes. But I think TJ Watt's going to win it because of that record. So.
Yes, and that's kind of where we get into this thing. Like, is this whole show that's kicking off in about 5 minutes or so? And what is it for? Like, what's the hoopla for? Like, is it truly the best players? But I mean, Aaron Donald, and that's the thing. Aaron Donald is playing for the bigger prize. Forget these individual stats, these individual awards. They look good when you get to the negotiation table, but at the end of the day, the respect around the league, I mean, you take Aaron Donald off the Rams, what are they? Pittsburgh Steelers have been churning out defensive ends ever since forget his name, James Harrison. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then let's not forget he has Cam Heyward on the other side.
Yeah. You
feel what I'm saying? So when you got Cam Heyward on the other side, that's also a Pro Bowler. Why can't I say Cam? Cam, there we go. Cam. I still can't say it. But Mr. Hayward, I'll say that. If I said Cam just by itself, when I try to say Cam Hayward, it sounds weird. It's a little bit different. It's the hell. I mean, really, don't get me wrong. When you look at the Rams defense, you do have Von Miller. Now you have Leonard Floyd as well. But ultimately, when you're offensive coordinator, you're coming into the game figuring out how can you get 99 not to fuck up the whole game. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, how can I game plan to stay around 99, to stay away from 99? So,
no, I hear.
But yeah, That's not that like that award is not the most intriguing. I mean, none of these awards like
to
not.
me, there's one award that's intriguing here. There's one of the awards that is very intriguing that I think is debatable. I think the rest are pretty obvious.
Pretty chalk, right?
Pretty chalk. I mean, we'll get to, you know what? Let's do MVP now because I think MVP is obviously the one that it's kind of obvious. I think MVP is obviously going to be Aaron Rodgers, having the best single season, best record out of anyone. He's the, and remember MVP is the quarterback award. All right. In essence, that's what they've done. They've turned the MVP into who is the best QB on a winning team. That's the award. Okay. Offensive Player of the Year has become kind of like, okay, if you're a non-QB, then you can get this award.
Right.
But we're also going to consider QBs still. It's so dumb. It's so dumb how much like they put so much credit to so much spotlight on the QBs. Like if you're pretty much gonna just essentially make the MVP award a QB award, then make Offensive Player of the Year non-QB. Like have the designation because I just think it's unfair. But anyways, MVP I think is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Who do you now? Would you give it to someone else?
Yes.
You would give it to someone else. Do you believe Aaron Rodgers is going to win it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Who would you give MVP to?
I would give it to Joe Burrow.
Okay. And I know you alluded to that when.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it earlier, just because of the fact of where would his team be without him? And this was unexpected. And whose team is playing on Sunday? Obviously, it's two different conferences, two different routes that they went. But the dude, for what he had adversity-wise last year, getting blown up with his ACL in Maryland with Washington, now taking his team in a pretty much even division. You feel what I'm saying? Like the AFC North, there's really not one like super, super bad team. And Baltimore was only in the bottom because of Lamar couldn't stay healthy for whatever reason, illnesses, his ankle. Cleveland was Cleveland. They was back to themselves. Baker's not healthy, his shoulder. So he had half an arm. But that wasn't the talk going into the season. You know what I mean? That wasn't the talk going into the season. I think they went 11-6, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was a record 11-6 or 12-5, something like that. But I would give it to Burrow because we talk about his numbers. Obviously, he didn't put up Aaron Rodgers-esque numbers, but they're probably pretty close. You know what I mean? And I think that this kid now is going to be the face of the franchise, he could be the face of the league by the end of Sunday. The face of the league by the end of Sunday. And Aaron Rodgers, who knows? Who knows if he's going to play next year, if he's going to retire. If he wins it, they'll probably give it to him, nod off to him. I mean, but you can make a case for Brady as well. You can make a case potentially for Stafford. But to me, I would give it to Burrow. That's just my opinion. I would give it to Burrow because of where he was at, the team that he was on, the offensive line that he had. I don't see Aaron Rodgers being able to do the same things that he did with that offensive line. I don't see Tom Brady being able to put up the same numbers and perform the same with the offensive line that Joe Burrow had. I don't see that from Matt Stafford. So to play with to put up the numbers he did, to play the way he did with the offensive line that he had and the division that he had, because most of that division has decent defenses. I mean, Baltimore is a little but Pittsburgh defense is good. Cleveland's defense is good. So to do that in that division, that's not easy to do. You know what I mean? So me personally, I would give it to Burrow. I mean, out of Burrow's division, AFC North, NFC North, NFC South, which one was the hardest division?
AFC South.
You mean AFC North?
Sorry, AFC North. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say the AFC North out of those three.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you want to make a case for Stafford, I just don't think Stafford had the numbers. Stafford didn't have the consistency like that. I don't think Burrow, there's not one game where I said Burrow shit the bed where he cost him the game.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I hear you.
So that's just me. That's why I said I think he's too big for the Comeback Player of the Year award.
Got it. I can't argue too much against that. I do think that value wise, you are right, but in terms of who the best quarterback was, I think Aaron Rodgers still. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was playing at Aaron Rodgers level. I
But
think
we've
that's what it
seen
comes
him
down
do
to.
that.
What's up?
I said that's it, and that's the other thing. It's like we have this adage of wrestling. I don't know if there's any wrestling fans in here right now. I know Chrome he said he's gonna hop on with us in the next 30 minutes or so. And we appreciate the fan rocking with us. Keep the chats coming, keep the comments coming in. Who you think is gonna win the awards, or who would, and who's deserving. But you have certain people that don't need the title. Just because you had the strap, or just because we call you champion, doesn't necessarily mean that you needed that. It doesn't elevate you. Like, to me, Rodgers he's bigger than the MVP. Brady is bigger than the MVP. You feel what I'm saying? To now, where you got Burrow winning MVP or Stafford winning MVP.
But do you then get into the dilemma of like, okay, because we talked about this with Aaron Donald, the Defensive Player of the Year. Do you now get into that conundrum? Because we agreed Aaron Donald should technically be the winner every single year.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
So MVP, technically, the best quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Is Aaron Rodgers. So it's the same thing. Like the way that the award is titled, most valuable player,
right.
I totally get it. Like this year, Burrow has meant more to that team than Aaron Rodgers has.
Right.
I feel blasphemous saying that. I feel very blasphemous saying that because Aaron Rodgers still, like, you're talking about by a hair. Because without Aaron Rodgers, let's be honest, without Aaron Rodgers, that team doesn't go anywhere. They don't go anywhere. So I feel blasphemous saying that, but I get what you're saying and I agree to it. But that's when you take the MVP, the title, and you take it by its literal, what the name is called. But if you take it by what it's supposed to stand for, in terms of who is the best quarterback in the league on a winning team, it's Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers had a better year than Burrow, so I think he's gonna get the award. By that criteria, he should get the award. But you make a very valid point, and that's what this whole there's so much, like, the awards, the NFL awards have become kind of, I don't want to say like laughable.
Contest. You can say for what it is.
They're laughable in the sense because they don't make sense and they're inconsistent. And I disagree with a lot of the award winners the past several years. And being an Eagle, like, I remember the one year, or the 2015, when Dak won Offensive Rookie of the Year over Zeke, when we all knew Zeke was the better.
Real quick,
Zeke was the better.
This is the stats. This is the stats, right? So Burrow's completion percentage 70.4, 4,611 yards, 34 touchdowns, 14 picks, passer rating of 108.3.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers 68.9 completion percentage, 4,115 yards, 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 111.9.
4 interceptions.
Don't get me wrong. The 4 interceptions part is crazy. But the completion percentage and the yardage and the touchdowns is a lot closer than what you think. Now, honestly, how many years did Belichick win Coach of the Year? And how many years did he deserve to win Coach of the Year?
Yeah, that's another argument. That's exactly no, exactly the point. And I totally get what you're saying. And I agree. That's where, like, again, this is where we're talking about who is going to win it and who should win it.
Right.
It's two different things. The last category, because they are the award ceremony is underway. We've got Keegan-Michael Key as the MC. He is right now saying a joke about Aaron Rodgers. I hope it was funny. But the last award prediction before we transition over to the big game, the Super Bowl, and that talk. Offensive player of the year. This is the one where I think you legit could have an argument for 3 different players, maybe even 4 different players. I feel like the guy that I would give it to is definitely different from who's going to win it. Who do you think is going to win it? Who would you give it to? Are you muted? I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was muted. I'm setting my shit up here so I can watch this and play this and do all this other shit. So, I think Kupp's going to win it.
Yes, I agree. I think Kupp's going to win it.
I think he's going to win it. However, so that's tough. I mean, I'm racking my brain. Okay. I know who you're going to say, and I'm gonna steal your thunder.
Who am I going to say? Who goes here?
So, if you talk about the offensive player of the year, it's just kind of hand in hand where this dude really probably had a long shot to be considered MVP because to us, he is the most valuable non-quarterback offensive player in the league. And that's that boy, last name Samuel, first name Debo.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, like when you look at it, where would they be without
Yes.
Debo? Debo does everything. He does everything for them. Like he runs, he's a running back, he's a wide receiver. Shit, he even had passed it a couple times. I mean, without them, they don't make it to the NFC. Without him, they don't make it to the NFC Championship game. And his usage changed, I would say about 10 weeks into the season, where I think Shanahan realized, okay, I have a good running game, but I don't have my Raheem Mostert like I had last year. So I need to manufacture runs. Who can I do that with? And they just beat Debo into the ground. I'm surprised his body held up, but that's the only other player that's a non-quarterback that I can see making a case for. I can't see making a case for Ja'Marr Chase over Cooper Kupp because I think Chase is going to win the offensive player, the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah,
you feel what I'm saying? But that would be the only other person I can make a case for OPOY.
If you're looking,
maybe Devontae, but look who's throwing Devontae the ball.
Yeah, if you're looking at who the best offensive player was just overall, I can't. I have to give it to Debo. Like you're talking about a guy who's legit. Like we talk about running backs who are good receivers, and we talked about before wide receivers who are good at run after the catch. This is literally a guy who, starting I think around the second half of the year, was doing both. He legit was playing both, like legit playing both positions, and he is revolutionizing. And I want to be fair because there are players, and I think me and you have agreed, there are players in recent history who should have been used like Debo. Yep. So it's not like Debo was the first player with that type of skill set.
Yep.
Debo and his coach, he went to the right coach to
right system
to be able to get that out of him. But Debo along with Kyle are helping innovate, I guess you can say, and change the game in a way where I really do think we're going to start to see a lot of teams try to look for the next Debo Samuel in terms of who legit can play both. Because we also saw Cordero Patterson is another guy who, for years since he was in the league, should have been used this way and was only used this way this year with the Falcons, playing both positions. So we're going to see a lot of teams start to go in that route. And Debo is the epitome. He's the prime example. He's the alpha of this mold now, this new mold. Yes. And he literally is doing both at a high level. They asked him in one of the interviews, I think today or yesterday, could you have had 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing? And he said if he was running the ball, getting all the touches in the beginning of the year, he absolutely would have had 1,000. And I believe that too. Yep. I honestly believe that too. So I think Offensive Player of the Year is going to go to Cooper Kupp, but absolutely Debo Samuel he gets my vote for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because Cooper Kupp still, like, when I look at Debo, I can't find a flaw in his game. And this isn't just to sit here and just have a blow fest for Debo, but I mean, I can't find, like, you could put Debo in any scheme, any team, any offense, and I think he would win. I think he would be successful. Whereas Cooper Kupp, and this is to McVay's credit, he still shields him away from press coverage. Like, I would love to see practice footage of Ramsey in practice saying, all right, I'm gonna trail Cooper. I got Kupp all day.
Yeah, Kupp plays in the slot a lot.
Plays in the slot, he's in motion, pre-snap, post-snap motion, and he just gets him open. Like, that's the biggest knock against Cooper Kupp is he can't beat press coverage. So he has a coach that utilizes him in the right way. His numbers are what they are, but when you just look at player for player, if you just walked up to a football field and you just watch tape and you see who's going to pick who, I think Debo gets picked before Cooper.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. And again, let me remind you guys, I saw this coming. I said years ago, and I was laughed at, I said years ago Debo Samuel was going to be a superstar. And look what he's done. I was in this chair years ago when we were doing the off-season positional drafts. I took Debo Samuel in the third round, and I was laughed at. This is my vindication. Debo Samuel, offensive player.
Looks like the first award of the night is the Defensive Player of the Year. Before that kicks off, we'll kick it to the second quarter real quick. And our second quarter is brought to you by Body Check Wellness. Is a line of products that promotes wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. Use promo code A2D for 25% off your order at bodycheckwellness.com. So let's see who wins this first award.
Pretty sure it's TJ. Is that TJ?
Probably TJ.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then got JJ congratulating him. That's a good moment. That's a cool moment. He got his brother presenting him with an award. That was probably, I wonder if that was staged.
Probably.
That was planned. All right, bro. We're gonna get into this now. We are going to get into the actual game, and let's because this is the final game of the year. Let's give it its due. It's just due, and let's get into specifics, get into details like me and you can.
Well, you want to put the poll question up?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot about the poll question. Thank you for reminding me.
Well, no, it's more pertinent to this conversation now.
Yeah, no, that's why. Yeah, it's supposed to be the poll question should be up for this segment. But yeah, the poll question, which is brought to you by ATD's Rant Booth, or it All Campus, the home of ATD's Rant Booth. They're giving 20% off everything in their store to all their subscribers. And the poll question is: the Bengals offensive line is the biggest key to the game in Super Bowl 56. Agree or disagree? So we talked about the Bengals offensive line, their struggles, Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor being successful despite of this offensive line. Pete, do you see them and their performance and their ability to protect, maybe not only protect Burrow, but run block too for Joe Mixon? Are they the biggest key in this game?
They're important, but I think the biggest key still is going to be Joe Burrow, because I think the zone defense coverages that Raheem Morris is going to throw at him and where he has to go with the football, they're going to make him think. And obviously the offensive line needs to hold up to give him time. I think they'll be able to do that. Hell, my man won a game being sacked 9 times in the playoffs. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm going to have to disagree to the poll. And I actually think there's probably even a bigger unit that is going to be more key to the game, because we could be hearing this offense, Bengals offense versus defense, offense versus defense, offensive line versus Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd. I mean, I think really when I look at it, the linebacker position for the Rams has probably been the weakest in a while. in the secondary, I wouldn't say the secondary is weak, but it used to be more complimentary. Eric Weddle has come in after being retired for 2 years and giving him quality snaps that are going to use him more of a dime as a linebacker. So, I mean, it's definitely kids going to make the decisions, but I think Burrow's decision making is going to be the biggest key of the game for me. So I would have to disagree to the poll.
I am going to disagree to the poll as well. I think they are a key, like you said. I think they have to play the game of their season. They have to play the best game of their season. Obviously, that's an obvious statement. That's an obvious statement, but they are against it because this defensive line, like you said, like we keep reiterating all year for the Rams, is absolutely deadly. We've got Aaron Donald.
I'm shaking my head because Ray Lewis's hairline is completely painted on. I just, brother.
So they've got their work cut out for them against this, this defensive line. But I think we've seen that the Bengals have had success despite them. So I don't think they are the biggest key. I think the biggest key is actually Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor and how they work around that offensive line. How Zach Taylor not only is able to scheme and play call around the deficiencies, but how Joe Burrow is going to be able to perform and the decisions he's going to have to make and executing these plays behind his offensive line. I think that's a bigger key. They've been doing it all year, finding ways to have success despite them, and they're going to have to do that one more time. And it's going to be very interesting because now we're looking at this matchup, right? So looking at the matchup between the Bengals offense and the Rams defense. And I don't think the Bengals can afford to rely on the same formula that they did or they had against the Chiefs. Because I think the Rams defense is more stacked with talent. Now I don't think they're as aggressive as the Chiefs defense. With Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs, they like to attack. Whereas the Rams defense, they have their zone. They play their zone. It's very similar to, obviously, a better defense because they have better players. But the scheme is essentially what Jonathan Gannon wants to run. They play two.
Right.
They play their cover two shells with two high safeties. They cover 2, cover 4, cover 6 variants. So they're going to play too high. They're going to play soft. They're going to play zones, soft zones here and there. They don't, despite Jalen Ramsey still being the best corner in the league, they don't have him travel. Now that could change. Maybe they'll change it up for this game, throw off the Bengals, and have Jalen Ramsey travel. That absolutely could happen. I don't think it will. I think they're going to go off of their bread and butter and say, hey, we're going to stick to our scheme, what we've been doing all year. We're going to play zone coverage. And we're going to let our pass rush get to Joe Burrow because that line is suspect. So they're going to do what they do. And so the Rams pass rushers are athletic. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd. Ashawn Robinson is also really good. You've got these guys that have the athleticism to really get after and chase down Joe Burrow, as opposed to the Chiefs where they have some guys, but the level of athleticism isn't nearly the same. So the Rams can afford to drop back.
Right.
They can afford to play soft zone and just wait for their pass rush to get to Burrow. So this matchup, I think, is the key matchup. The offense of the Bengals to the defense of the Rams. And if the Bengals aren't able to really protect Joe Burrow and scheme around the protection, I think it's going to be a long game. I think it's going to be a very difficult matchup. I think it could get out of hand if the Bengals don't do this right now. I do think they're going to be able to do that stuff. I think they're going to stick to the run. They're not shy about running the ball. They stick to the run.
He run that, and that's the commitment to the run. You even saw it in the AFC Championship game. And he said some fans complain like, why are we in this long down? He knows the meaningfulness of the run game to the complete picture.
Yes,
I mean, shout out to Bill Middlebrook. Thank you for rocking with us. He picked his DPOY. He said, "Have a great show, fellas. Peace out." I agree to the poll, not just protecting Burrow, but they need to establish that run game with Mixon to keep the Rams off the field. Nothing works, including Chase, if the line doesn't hold up. I'm telling you right now, one of my favorite prop bets is whatever T Higgins lines his line is. That's one of my favorite prop bets because I think Chase is gonna. I think you can't, if you're Raheem Morris, you can't take the chance of not having Ramsey on Chase.
Really, you think they're going to?
I would. You tell me a wide receiver that the Rams have played this year. Outside of maybe Justin Jefferson, when's the last time you seen? Like, to me, Chase is already one of the top 2 wide receivers in the league because he can do everything. His footwork, his speed, you can't beat him. He can beat press, he can beat zone, he can do it all. It's almost like I'm watching outside. He's not as tall, but like a young Julio in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't see Ramsey on Chase, I don't care whatever other corner they got. I'm going at. That's who I'm going at if I'm Burrow. That's why I said I think T Higgins and Tyler Boyd's going to have a big day because once again I can't tell you who the other DBs are like I used to with the Rams.
Yeah, but no one. But the thing is,
outside of Jalen.
Here's the thing, though. Here's where it gets tricky because I think you have a very great point, and initially, you want to do that. You want to be able to have a guy like Ramsey. You want to be able to take away Chase, let Higgins and Boyd beat you. I get that concept. Applying that concept is where you get in trouble because the talent at corner that the Rams have, now that becomes an issue because for certain formations, certain alignments, you can pull that off. So if you've got Chase, the Bengals are running a 3-by-1 set. Okay, you got Chase isolated as the X receiver to one side. He's in the to the boundary, right? And you've got to the open field side. You've got Higgins, Boyd, and Uzama. Okay, so you're on a 3-by-1. Is
Uzama set. Playing?
Yeah, that's what all expecting to play. So 3-by-1 set as a Rams defense, that's fine. So you can pull Ramsey to that side, have him shadow. You can have him shadow Chase, right? To the other side, you can't be playing man against that triple set. You have to play zone. So you can do one side where Ramsey's playing man essentially, and you can play zone to the other side with the trip set. So that's fine. However, now you get into an issue where if that's not the formation, okay, if the Bengals play out of that, say you're going 2-by-2 now, all right, or you're doing 12 personnel, you can 2-by-2, you're gonna have Ramsey play man on Chase playing but isolated, right? But then now you've got T Higgins, you got Uzama, or say you've got Uzama over here with Chase. Or if you do 11 personnel, now you've got Tyler Boyd or Higgins to the same side as Chase. Now you're playing man on the same side. Now you're running into trouble because if I'm Joe Burrow and I'm the Bengals, I'm saying, okay, they're running man, and Ramsey's going to play matchup against Chase. I'm throwing man to Higgins all day. I'm throwing man to Boyd all day, and that's where the Rams get in trouble because if that's the case, Burrow's going to get the ball out like that. And that pass rush for the Rams is not going to be able to get there in time. Burrow's going to read that. He's going to say, man, he's throwing that right away before the person can get there. So that's where it becomes tricky applying that. And the Rams, again, all year, they haven't done that. That's not their philosophy. So it's hard for me to say that's how they're going to approach it because if you play your scheme and you stick to what you've been doing and have Ramsey to one side, they're pretty much saying, I'm not going to let my other corners be a liability.
Right.
Is that the right approach? I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I wouldn't have Ramsey shadow chase. I'm saying that it's easier said than done. There are issues because the Bengals do have the talent from wide receiver 1 to 2 to 3,
Yep.
and then in their tight end Uzama to make you pay for playing man if you're trying to have Ramsey's shadow chase. You get what I'm saying? Like it's
you're
tough.
absolutely right. But I don't think, and this is Offensive Rookie of the Year award that's up next on NFL Honors. If you guys are tracking with us, that's where I don't think that the Rams haven't played an offense like this in a while on the defensive side, where they have everything. They can get you at every level. They had the court. And this is what the Niners was missing. This goes back to our conversation right after we recapped the championship weekend. The Niners didn't have the quarterback to do these throws to make you guys pay. You can say Ayuk and Samuel. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
You don't have like Jimmy G can't throw downfield.
Right.
Like, you've seen how many throws he's missed downfield. So absolutely.
Right. And then with the running back as well, the only thing that the Bengals are missing is the tight end. Like, I feel like if the Bengals would have traded for Zach Ertz instead of the Cardinals at the time.
Oh God.
It's completely different. So Ja'Marr Chase wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, sitting there chilling, preparing for the biggest game of his life.
Yeah.
According to our standards. But I mean, this is the thing. I just want to, when he got up, he pinky shook with Joe Burrow. These dudes, bro, like, you can't. I don't know if it's going to equate to a win on Sunday, but man, oh man, I can't tell you the last time I seen just unity from a team like I seen from the Bengals. That's what makes them so likable. Now, that's what makes the Super Bowl tough, because the Bengals as a team are so likable, right?
Yeah.
You root for them, but then you got Stafford as a person, as a single player.
Yes,
that you want to see win.
Yes, absolutely. And then we both love OBJ.
Right.
Talk about OBJ. We both like him. He's another likable guy in the Rams. So it's tough, yeah. So I don't know. Now here's another thing for the offensive side for the Bengals. We already talked about how they're going to run. Okay, they're going to run. They're going to stick to the run. This is why I think Mixon is a big factor. He's another huge X factor.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than any other skill position on the Bengals. Mixon, I think one of the things they're going to do a lot of, one is run, and two, they're going to call screens. So Mixon is going to be one of the benefactors of those screens. Mm-hmm. And if he goes off, if Joe Mixon goes off, the Bengals could run away with this.
Yep.
It could absolutely run away with this. And I'll continue on why in the next segment when we flip it and we talk about Rams offense versus the Bengals defense. But I think Joe Mixon is a huge key, because you talk about someone who has been one of the top running backs in the league for years, but has never gotten the spotlight. But this year, you're seeing him execute that outside zone offense, a similar type of offense that we see from the Shanahan tree. It's the same.
And I think their run game coordinator is related. I think it's Bill Callahan's son, the former offensive line coach, who was a run game coordinator. Obviously, he was the head coach of the Raiders in 2002, I believe. But I think it's his son. That's either the running backs coach or the running game coordinator. Mm-hmm. That's why they started to really go to this outside zone schemes. And Mixon has found, it's almost like he reached another gear the second half of the season, to where he stayed fresh. I think his ankle was a little bit messed up, but I think Micah Parsons just got Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year, yep.
I mean, honestly, if Micah Parsons played at the end most of the year, he may have had more than 12 sacks. And then it's just
possibly. But did you hear what he said about that? He was talking about that on the Pivot podcast.
Look at look at the chain. This bitch is up here in New Jack City, bro. Like this Nino Brown right now.
God. He was saying that he likes to play linebacker sometimes, depending on the matchup. He doesn't want to exclusively stay at edge.
When you that good, well, you can say, "Nah, coach, this week I think I want to play linebacker." I need to see more shit.
He talked about it. He talked about how I forget exactly what the words are, but he said depending on the matchup,
right.
He wouldn't want to play edge. Oh, look, it's the GOAT, Barry Sanders, greatest running back of all time. Love him. He talked about it that defensive end is something he's great at. That's where the money would be, but he doesn't always prefer that. He prefers to play linebacker because he still has that range. You know what I mean? So it's situational. But I agree. You talk about what the stats he could have. If he was full time defensive end. Yeah, it's crazy. But
so you want to get into the Rams offense versus the Bengals defense, or you got some more points you want to hit on?
Well, no, I don't know if you. I was going to ask you the same thing. Do you have any points on the offensive side of the ball for the Bengals? Because, I said, I think Joe Mixon is going to be a huge factor, especially with that. The Rams. If there's a weak spot of the defense, it's the linebackers. So, and I know Eric Weddle had a good game against the Niners, but
that's also that's the thing. This is what we're taking into account as well, and this goes for both sides. You had a team in the championship games where you had two teams that played each other 4 weeks prior, and then in an AFC and an NFC, you had a team that playing each other for the third time in that season. So it was both of those situations were situations where you were very familiar with the other team, very familiar with the other team. Now, this is the first time we've ever had. Is this the first time we've ever had two? It almost feels like it's like the 2 weeks we've had this year in between AFC Championship and Championship weekend and the actual Super Bowl feels longer for some reason. I guess because this is deeper into February. Yeah. But now this is truly a fresh matchup. Truly a fresh matchup. So when it's truly a fresh matchup like this, there's going to be some subtleties that you just not going to plan for. And that's where the X's and O's, like you said, with Burrow and Zach Taylor, when you disagreed to the poll, and you said it's Burrow and Zach Taylor's scheme, it's going to kind of be the same thing. And I think just leading into the other side of the ball, when we look at the Bengals defense versus the Rams offense, it's kind of the same thing. The Bengals defense, they don't have a lot of name guys over there at all. They're just playing solid like a unit. It reminds me so much of 2017 and the Eagles defense. Obviously, I think the Eagles defense had a little bit more stars on the talent, but I don't even think the Bengals have that. But they rely on their scheme, they rely on their sets, they rely on their discipline, and they execute. They just execute. That's why that's the matchup to me on what
let's get into it. Let's
that defense versus what they're going to try to do from Stafford to make him make decisions, try to hold on to the ball, how they're going to guard Cooper Kupp. I mean, I think the Bengals have a good idea on what to do with stud wide receivers because they've seen them. They've seen Julio. They've seen A.J. Brown. You know what I mean? Then in the championship game, they saw Tyreek Hill. They saw Travis Kelce. So they figured out in that second half what to do. I think you may see something very, very similar to what you've seen against Kansas City, whereas they may only rush 4, drop 7. They may rush 3, drop 8, because you need more bodies especially when you have all these under routes, pre-snap motion, and how McVay tries to scheme his players open. I can see maybe a decent day for Tyler Higbee. I can see that for Van Jefferson, but I also think at the same time, Stafford's always been a quarterback that he's going to give his studs an opportunity to make plays. If he sees the opportunity to get Odell the ball and make a play, he will. If he sees the opportunity to get Cooper Kupp the ball, he will make a play. A lot of times we used to think about these X wide receivers as boundary wide receivers and just making big plays on a boundary. But we've seen it against the division round against Tampa Bay. That last play, that last throw to Cooper Kupp, that was over the middle of the field. You can still get beat and go deep over the middle of the field. And Stafford dropped that ball in a fucking bucket and took a shot. So you had to worry about that. But I would say this. I think that the Bengals are tighter and better on the back end than any team that they played in. Well, I would say maybe Jimmy Ward or Jaquiski Tart that they saw in the NFC Championship game. But just from what they've seen, you got Jesse Bates and you got Von Bell. Von Bell's there.
I give the nod to the Bengals.
Right. You got Von Bell being used more of a Malcolm Jenkins role to equate it to us, and Jesse Bates is kind of free roaming out there. You know what I mean? You got Eli Apple, Eve's own, South Jersey's own Eli Apple. Finally found a spot where he can be consistent, not making stupid plays. And I forget the other corner at Chidobe Awuzie, Cheetah. That's the other corner they got. So they got talent that you heard names before at other places that didn't work out. Now they found a home in Cincinnati and they found a system where they're playing as a unified unit.
Don't forget Mike Hilton, arguably the best
too. And then
corner
the linebackers. Is it Logan Wilson? And then it's I can't think of the other guy's name. It's
linebacker.
I know it's Logan Wilson.
Jermaine Pratt.
Was it? Say it again.
Jermaine Pratt.
Yes. And everybody on the Bengals defense has played better the second half of the season. And they know that nobody's out there trying to play hero ball. And you got Trey Hendrickson, great pickup, can get pressure. I don't know where these white boy defensive end rushers came from in the last 5-6 years. These bitches growing off of trees.
My God.
They're growing off of trees, bro. It's just ridiculous. And that's why I said the offensive line just has to be good enough to give Burrow time. They just have to be good enough to hold on for that half a second, just to be good enough to give him time. But with that being said, this is the matchup to where Stafford's going to give you some. He's not Jimmy G-esque, but Stafford's going to do some shit that's going to give the Bengals an extra possession. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. When they do that, how do the Bengals react? How many times can they get Stafford to do that? And this is the other thing. We've seen this. We haven't seen it with Zach Taylor yet. And this is what you talked about before. Can McVay commit to the run? Can he just run it? Because if Andy would have ran it in the second half, different outcome. Can McVay commit to the run with either Cam Akers, Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson? You got a backfield. You got a multitude of backs. Run the ball. You have to run it at some point and stick to it and always have to be a presence in the game. Don't get into – now, I will say this. If it's a shootout, I think the Rams have a better chance of winning the shootout than the Bengals, but you don't have to make it go that way. You know what I mean? You got to keep it honest because Clydes Edwards-Helaire, Damian Williams in the first half in the championship game, they were having success. Yeah. They were having success. And then Andy completely went away from it. So I'm curious to see those X's and O's. I can't even remember the dude's name now that was the DC on Rebel Wilson looks amazing.
She looks really good.
But yeah, go ahead. As you were saying.
Yeah. So, before we get to it, I forgot to hit up the sponsors for our third quarter. Our third quarter sponsors are SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com, Mr. Paul Vidal, our doctor, making yours with locations in Cherry Hill and Burlington. So, yeah, a lot of what you said is very, very, very good points. And I think they're doing comeback play of the year now. Yeah, I think they're doing comeback play of the year now. But very good points. And here's what I say, and this is why I think the Bengals will have a legitimate chance. I think this defense, what you said, it might not have any superstars, but they play together so well.
Yep.
The defensive coordinator, I never know how to pronounce his name. Lou and I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry, I'm sorry, DC. But he does a great job.
Lou Anaramu,
okay. He does such a great job. And what I like about them is that they make adjustments in game so well. So well.
Yes.
They're going to go out. They're going to go see what this game plan is for the Rams, just like they did against the Chiefs and every other team they've played. They're going to see what they're doing, and then they're going to make their adjustments.
Yep.
They're going to play their defense depending on what they see, and I think that's a great thing. I think that's an amazing thing, and it's an amazing thing that your defensive players have the talent to be able to execute the adjustments. It's one thing to call adjustments. It's another thing to execute it. That's one of the problems we've seen with this Eagles defense is that when adjustments are made, they don't have the talent to be able to fully execute it. But this Bengals defense is. They absolutely are. And there's zone defenses, and we broke it down.
Yes.
We broke it down last week against the Chiefs. They execute zone defense the way.
Macaulay Culkin's about to talk people. I just want to say. Dude, tell me that fucking thing. He looks just like Macaulay Culkin, bro.
Like his older brother, yeah.
I'm so glad they didn't give it to Dak just because Dak is actually in the building.
Yeah. I'm glad Joe Burrow got it. But this defense, they execute their zones so well.
Yes.
So well. I think people again need to, we talked about it already, but I'm going to rehash it. They need to understand that when you play zone defense, it's not about just standing in a spot. Okay. That's not how you play zone defense. You have to.
You have an area. You
have an area, and whoever is that player in that area, you are essentially playing man with until they leave that area. But that's the thing. When they leave that area, you have to be able to communicate and exchange that player to the next player's zone. And your teammate has to have the awareness to be able to say, hey, I have to pick up this guy now. He's entering my zone. And I have to now go from here to there to pick up and be responsible with that player. That's called zone exchange. Not a lot of defenses can execute zones at a high level.
Right.
But then when you do, you have such an advantage. And people think like, oh, you gotta play man. There's a reason why teams are hesitant to play man as much as they do. Because it leaves you vulnerable. It just does. It leaves you so vulnerable to a big play if you don't have top end talent. And believe it or not, most teams in the league don't have top end talent to play man coverage all the time. But
it's hard to stop somebody for 5 or 6 seconds when they know where they're going and you don't.
Exactly. And to do it every single play for how many plays a game? 30 to 40 plays a game? Yeah, it's so difficult. So when you're able to play zone at a high level like the Bengals are, you're at a great advantage. Now, the reason why I like that is because the Rams have the talent. They have the talent on offense. Me and you, we love OBJ. We love Matt Stafford. I'm a big Cam Akers fan. I think that we have to also remember Sean McVay. When Sean McVay was in this game last time, he wasn't able to make the right adjustments. Okay. That's what I think can get the Rams in trouble offensively. If they come out of their game plan, right, and they don't get up to a roaring heart start, they don't go up 14 or 21-0 to begin the game, and if the Bengals are still in it, the more
the Bengals are in it, the better for the Bengals.
The better it is for the Bengals. And if Sean McVay isn't able to adjust to the Bengals adjustments, this is where we're going to have a game. That's when I'm telling you. That's the chess match is that. So that's where the Bengals offense comes into play, where the Bengals offense, they have to be able to at least stay on the field, get that run game going. They don't have to put up I don't think they have to put up 48 points, like 42 points in this game to be able to win. I think they have to be able to sustain offense and score just enough, because I think the Bengals defense will do a good job against this Rams offense. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game, but I think it's going to be a really close game throughout. There are a lot of people, I know we have Mr. Wing over here, who thinks the Bengals will get annihilated and the offensive line is going to get crushed and everything like that. I disagree. I totally disagree with that. The Bengals wouldn't be here if they didn't deserve to be here.
Yep.
They are here for a reason, and that defense is a big reason why. So I think that this is where the Bengals could really keep it close, is the defensive side of the ball.
Yep. So before we get into an extended no huddle, I know it was a short third quarter, but let's get into our predictions for the game. I know. What are you wanting? right now NFL Honors is choosing the Walter Payton Man of the Year. To me personally, which I think is the biggest award of the night, because it has nothing to do with stats. It has to do more with your character as a person.
Yep, absolutely.
Who was this year's recipient?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's Aaron Jones. I don't know other guys. I don't know him.
Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be.
I know. Well, shout out to Rodney McLeod. He won an award yesterday for it's almost like the equivalent of the humanitarian award. I think it was the 5th Eagle ever to win it.
Jason Kelsey's up there. I see that. He's our nominee.
He's our nominee, right?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see who wins. But predictions, score predict. I don't know if I have a score prediction. Well,
not a score prediction, but just the prediction for the game. Who's going to win?
I'm going Bengals.
Really?
I'm going Bengals. My brain says the Rams. My head says the Rams. I think logically the Rams are the better team. They went all in. They are more all in than any other team in this league in the league right now. So this is the epitome. They have to win it. They went all in to win it.
Yep.
They mortgaged their future draft picks. They spent their money. They traded for these players, OBJ and Von Miller. They have to win it. And I love Matt Stafford. I think if the Rams win it, it's because Matt Stafford has the game of his career. So I think the Rams logically are the better team. However, there's just this vibe that I get from the Bengals that, and I said this before the Bengals took on the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, when everyone was picking the Chiefs. I said the Bengals have as good a shot as any, because when I watch Joe Burrow and I see that quiet confidence and the way he carries himself and the way he leads that offense, there's no game that they're out of. There is no game that they're out of.
No.
And it's almost I feel like I'm going to get so much heat for saying this, but it's almost Tom Brady like. That aura, that
Do you feel like this team is like early 01, 02 Patriots?
No, not the team wise, but I'm talking about
just from Burrow.
Just that aura and that confidence and the ability to he believes he's the best player on the field every single time he steps out on the field, and oftentimes he is. So I look at him, I look at how this Bengals team they have that underdog mentality similar to what the Eagles had a few years ago, where no one believes in them.
Right.
But that's not always a bad thing, because you can just go into the game with not as much pressure to meet those expectations. So they're going there loose and they believe in themselves and saying, hey, if no one else is going to believe in them, then they're going to believe in themselves. And I think there's something about that team where they're just finding a way. And before you know it, it's overtime, they force a turnover, and they're about to kick a game-winning field goal, just like they did in AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. My head says the Rams, but my heart and my wallet are going to say the Bengals. I'm going with the Bengals to win Super Bowl 56.
I could dig it. Real quick, Chuck's is going to rock with y'all for a little bit. My dog just ran away. He's outside somewhere.
God, go get that dog.
I will be right back.
You're going to need to get that dog. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. All right, guys. So you're going to listen to me talk and ramble for a good while. But Mr. Wing, you come back and you say you disagree with that. The Chiefs choked that game away. They aren't on an Eagles 2017 run. Well, you can't. I'm not saying they're the same, but one, you can't say that it was all the Chiefs that just choked that game away. The Bengals did things to cause the Chiefs to lose that lead. The Bengals made adjustments. Last week we talked about it. On defense, the Bengals did things to make life difficult for for the Chiefs. And on offense, they made plays to capitalize off of that Chiefs defense. So it wasn't just the Chiefs and them choking the way and them losing the game. Was that part of it? Sure, yeah. The Chiefs made some dumb mistakes. The Andy Reid went away from the run. So I get that. The decision to not only go for it before the half with 5 seconds left, but Pat Mahomes' decision to throw to Tyreek Hill out or short of the end zone was a huge, huge mistake, boneheaded mistake. So I get that. The Chiefs have their what do you call it? They have their blame in it too. But it's not just all of them. They didn't just choke it all away. The Bengals are here for a reason. And people write them off. And I get why. Because the Bengals, they were nobody last year. They didn't do it. I forget what their record was. Okay. So when you're a team that's going from last place in the division and one of the worst teams in the league one year, and then the following year you're having success, you're not going to have a lot of people believe in you because people are going to think it's a fluke. So I can understand the hesitancy for people to believe in the Bengals and how good they are. But I'm telling you, they're good for a reason. This isn't just luck. It isn't just luck. They absolutely have the talent and the coaching to win this. They've gotten here this far for a reason. I'm not guaranteeing it, though. There's no way I'm guaranteeing the win. It's Super Bowl 56. And like I said, the Rams, logically, they had the better team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they won at all. My head says they're going to win because my head says they're the better team with better talent on it. So I get it. I just don't think that it's as lopsided of a matchup as you think, Mr. Wing. And Jake says, give me the Bengals. You can't shake Joe no matter how bad things look. The Titans and Chiefs games prove that. And to that point, like, if the Bengals weren't this good, they wouldn't have been able to beat the Titans, who were the number 1 seed. But the Chiefs, who were people said they were the favorites in the AFC. You don't come off of 2 legitimate wins against great teams like that if it's just a fluke. You just don't. It's not possible. So I'm picking the Bengals, and I feel good about that pick, but I could be wrong. I think it's going to be a great matchup. Bill Middlebrook, you say, I hope Kelsey gets the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Of course we do. Like, it's Jason Kelsey, and we always feel like he should get an award like this because he's a great man off the field. So obviously he's deserving of an award like this. There are so many players that are deserving of an award like this. So kudos to all of them. We'll see if he makes it. We'll see if Jason Kelsey wins it. That would be great if he does. It'd be absolutely great if he does. So Pete's not here, but luckily, just in time, my other co-host, Mr. Chrome, is here joining us. What's good, brother? How are you?
What's up, brother? What's going on?
Nothing much. Good timing. Pete had to go get his dog who ran outside.
Yeah, I saw. I was actually going to be hopping on in a couple of minutes, and I happened to hear him say, Chuck's is going to be rocking for a little bit because I got to go chase the dog. So I said, you know what? I guess I'll expedite my jumping on. Try to save the day a little bit.
Before we jump into the fourth quarter and no huddle, do you want to give your quick thoughts and predictions and pick for Super Bowl 56?
Yeah, I got to say, I'm very excited for this game as the week goes on. Just kind of the storylines of, Matt Stafford and everything he's been through to get to this point. And then, obviously on the other side, right, you have, the young guard, the young gun, Joe Burrow. And, it's very interesting to hear all these veterans kind of come out and talk about him. You hear Gronk's comments and everything else. I mean, there's something special about him, He's just he's one of those guys that he just has superstar written all over him. So I think it's going to be a real good game. I haven't looked at the line update, which I'll pull up now if I can. But
I haven't seen it. I haven't looked at it. I'm trying to stay off of it. I use DraftKings. I'm trying to stay off of it until like Saturday, because like I have when I place bets too early in the week.
Well,
I like stuff.
Yeah, I like to try. I mean, if it stays where it's at, and the line's not real crazy, the line is 4. It's minus,
Gotcha.
And obviously the Bengals are the dogs in this. I think that's a fair line on it. My heart wants to pick the Bengals.
That's exactly what I said. That's what I said. My heart is. I'm picking the Bengals because that's what my heart says, and I just have a feeling, so I'm gonna pick the Bengals, but my head says the Rams.
Yeah, so. I'm gonna go with. I usually go with my heart. I'm gonna go with my gut here, though.
Uh-huh.
I got to go with the Rams here. I think it's Matt Stafford's time. There's so much firepower. I think the difference in this game is going to be, what is the one weakness that we talk about that I know that I've talked about over the last few weeks with you guys? The one weakness that I think is going to be their focus in the offseason, whether it's through the draft or free agency, is the offensive line.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's bad, but it's not overly impressive.
You can say it's bad. You can say it's bad, especially in particularly in pass protection. It's bad.
Yeah, I think it's hard to call it bad and get to this point, though. So I can't say that it's bad. I'm going to say it's nothing to write home. There's nothing special about it. That being said, you look at the other side of the football. I mean, he got sacked. Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times in the wild card round, and they found a way to win the game. He might get sacked 19 times in this game, and I'm not even exaggerating with that front line on the defense for the Rams. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think this game they could be slinging, though. You might see 75, 80 combined points in this game. But
you know what's funny? I just got done saying that I don't think it's going to be a shootout because I do think the Bengals defense is going to make some plays. I think
they might.
Yeah. I think it's going to be.
I'm saying it could. If they put up a combined 80 points in this game, it wouldn't shock me. I am going to pick. I'm going to give a score prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I'm going to go Rams 31.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to go that way.
And I'm going to go Bengals 24.
I thought you were going to say 27. I was like 12.
No, I think it's going to I think they're going to cover the Rams.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be a bad game. I think it's going to be a very good, very entertaining game.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it'll be a 1-score game.
Yeah, toward the end, yeah.
So I'm going to stick with it. I think the Rams win this by a touchdown. I'm going 31-24. I think that Cincy will have a shot coming down the stretch, but I think that the defense with the Rams is going to be the deciding factor in this. So
it could be.
I know it's going to hurt your feelings, Chuck, but I think your boy McVay is going to finally get his ring.
No, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't hate McVay. I hate the hype around McVay. I think the hype gets too much. I actually like McVay. I think that McVay is a great coach. He's super smart. He's entertaining. He's a good-looking guy. So I like McVay. It's just when people overhype him.
I'm the exact opposite. I don't like any Shanahan. I didn't like Mike Shanahan. I don't like his fucking kids. I am not a Shanahan guy, and I absolutely, after this year, Kyle's okay, but after what I saw in this year's playoffs now, I think I'm on the other side of it now. I think that I'm starting to veer negatively towards it. I've never been any Shanahan guy. Like, it's like the Grudens. I've never been a Gruden guy. I've never been a Shanahan guy.
Did that include his trees then, like his coaching tree?
I'm talking about the family, man.
The
family bloodline,
not the coaching tree.
Right. Okay. I've never been a Buddy Rock. I like Buddy, I think Buddy's a little bit overrated in this city because their defenses were solid, but he never won anything.
Never,
Right.
yeah.
I know he obviously, he was a part of the Bears and all that, but I don't like Buddy. I don't like his kids. I hate his kids, I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm not a fan of the kids, the Ryan.
I'm not like a bloodline. Like, even, listen, I love Don Shula. I thought David Shula was a bum. And I hate the fact that he got jobs because his last name was Shula. I'm just not one of those guys.
Yeah.
I'm not a Shanahan guy. Just not me. So I'm not a big Kyle guy. And he didn't use Debo the last 12 minutes of the game and was the biggest reason why the 49ers blew it. So I'm not a Shanahan guy. That's right. I'm going back.
I kind of touched on it earlier, so it's okay. But what's funny too is though I was never a big Mike Shanahan guy either. Like I'd never liked Mike Shanahan. But
I find it impossible to not win with that football team that he had. And that's the thing, right? Like, I'm sure you can't say, hey, the coach has no effect on a team. I'm not going to say that. But when you look at, you had Elway, and Elway was still slinging. You had Terrell Davis, who is arguably one of the best at his position, whose career was cut entirely too short due to injury. God knows the numbers that Terrell Davis would have put up if he would have managed to stay healthy in his career. He might have broke all kinds of records. You talk about Shannon Sharp. That team was stacked.
Yep.
Okay? Stacked. There was no way that they shouldn't have won. And I think it proved it because they had good teams after, and he never did anything. Then he went to Washington, and they had decent teams there.
He was exposed in Washington. In Washington.
He was just not very good. And, yeah, I've never been a fan of him.
For me, I know we're getting off tangent, but like for me, I've never been a Mike Shanahan believer. I know he kind of he didn't come up with the zone blocking scheme, but like he made it very he made the scheme very he made it more on the map with the league. But the reason why I started to like Kyle a lot was because I saw what he was doing. Despite, I know he got opportunities, and people call it nepotism. And if you want to call it nepotism, okay. But if you listen to other coaches and insiders around the league, Kyle didn't just fall back on his name. He did the work. Like he was not only learning stuff from offensive minds like John Gruden, but he was in defensive meetings. He was with defensive coaches, learning defenses to a T so that his offensive system could be that much better. And so that's why I kind of like Kyle, because he took what his dad taught him, but he took it to another level. And he made sure that he wasn't just living off of his name. He was making a name for himself. And if you ask, a lot of the coaches around the league, a lot of people that know that are inside and have the inside track, they know that Kyle Shanahan has gotten here because of his ability, not because of his name. Now, again, I'm not shy of criticizing him, though, because even Pete during the season, you asked Pete during the show, I've said this has been Kyle Shanahan's worst year as a coach. Mm-hmm. I've been very critical of Kyle Shanahan. He's done a lot of things that have pissed me off, and I don't like a lot of stuff he's done this year. So I'm not, just because he's my favorite coach doesn't mean he's perfect. That being said, a couple
weeks ago I sat here and heard every excuse in the book to cast this blame on the biggest factor.
Way to spin it. Okay, way to spin
I'm
it.
just saying that's not
I'm
spinning.
not making excuses.
That's not spinning. The only thing I'll be spinning is the tape to rewind and show exactly my point that was exactly what happened 2 weeks ago. And I'm not saying you don't criticize him. However, you 2 weeks ago found every reason to not cast blame on the guy who deserved the bulk. That being said, to your point, I don't think there's a whole lot of nepotism in the NFL. Some, and I could be wrong on some. However, I don't think that the Ryan brothers didn't put work in to get to where they were. However, I do believe that because there's a lineage there, guys are given more opportunities than they really deserve. Like a guy getting an initial opportunity to me is one thing. I've seen guys get multiple opportunities who have no business getting multiple opportunities. And a lot of it ends up coming from the lineage that they come from.
And we kind of talked.
Not one of those guys who's a fan of it.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on that at the end of last week's show when we talked about the thing with Flores.
I mean, Jesus Christ, can you imagine if Belichick had a kid who was coaching? He might get 10 jobs.
He does have a kid who's good.
He coaches for him, though. He's a pretty good – and he's done a lot. He's been linebackers coach. I think this year he was defensive coordinator.
Well, wait, because he's going to end up being – that's what – they let McDaniel walk because he's going to end up being the next coach of the Patriots for the next 37 years.
Yeah. And he has a crazy-ass mullet. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't even know. But, all right, so that's the – Pete, did you give your –
MVP.
Go ahead, Carl.
MVP of the Super Bowl will be Matt Stafford.
I agree with that. We got Grandpa Brett out here. Did they ever pick the Walter Payton Award winner where I was going?
I didn't see it. I haven't seen them pick it.
I'm not even watching that. I've seen the updates, though. I mean, the awards that were given out seem right and just.
Yeah, they seem pretty chalk. Yeah, they seem pretty chalk.
No, but as much as I like the Bengals, as much as I like the story, I like Matt Stafford a little bit more, not as a person, just what he had to go through with his wife and everything else like that. Now, the team itself as a Rams is not a team that you're going to get the public behind. But like Chrome said, they're not going to have another chance like this to win a ring. Aaron Donald, this is their second time. This is McVay's second time. Obviously, it's Stafford's first time, but it's in your own building. Like the cards aren't going to align like this again.
And it gets harder too every time you
exactly.
It gets hard. This is their second time in three years, I think, getting back. 4 years. It gets harder to get back every time. And at some point now, they're at the end of this run where they're gonna have to start to turn that roster over a little bit. And they went all in for a reason this year with Von Miller and all these guys. They went in for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then all right, so
Rams went in, Stafford my MVP.
I can say because my head is saying Rams.
My heart wants to say Cincy. My heart wants to say it.
Yeah, I know.
I can't. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and this is more like I know when we talked week one, and I said, I feel like I want to pick Cincy, but like Derrick Henry feels like the factor here. This is just different. Like I could see what happening there though. I don't know that as great of a story as Cincinnati in their own right is to get to where they are, to win these playoff games, to come from behind in the fashions that they have with these young kids. It's so impressive. I don't know that anything's going to get in the way of that defensive line for the Rams and Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a guy who is not a huge Matt Stafford fan.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. Dick Vermeil.
It's his year, man.
Dick Vermeil got in?
Dick Vermeil's in. That's awesome.
They're announcing the Hall of Fame. I'm shocked Richard Seymour got in. But
I saw that, yeah. Tony Baselli, too. Real quick, we got one question from Pablo in terms of the game. He has thoughts on Ramsey versus Chase. I touched on it earlier, Pablo. It's tough to see. The Rams don't use Ramsey like that. They don't have Ramsey shadow receivers. They play Ramsey on one side and they play zone defense. So it's hard for me to say that they're going to change that up now. Could they for some snaps? Possibly. I think I can see it for some plays. But overall, I do think that Ramsey is going to be on his side and Chase is going to be wherever the Bengals want to line him up. So I don't think it's so much of Ramsey versus Chase as much as the media's making it out to be. I think Ramsey's going to make plays. I think Chase is going to make plays. So that's how I see it. Anything else regarding the game, guys, before we get to No Huddle?
Gatorade color will be yellow.
Red.
Yellow.
I got red.
Yellow or blue?
Blue.
Yeah.
Who's singing the national anthem?
I don't know. I didn't look that up.
I always go with the over on the national anthem.
Yeah, always.
All
Lady
right.
Gaga, the year she sung it,
If
gonna be
it's-
like $200.
If it's a female, I go over. If it's a male, I go under.
I like that formula. I like that mindset. I'll do that. All right, guys. Fourth quarter. It's brought to you by Cleveland's Bar.
There's
Located
only
at
one thing to talk about.
I know there is. Located at 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, PA. Use promo code A2D for 10% off your order whenever you dine in. So, guys, the news of the day for Philadelphia, as we all know, the 76ers were able to pull off the trade.
Mm-hmm.
They sent Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets for James Harden and Paul Millsap. Blockbuster trade. Let's get your, you know what, let's just let it go. Just say whatever the hell you want regarding the trade, and we'll see how it goes. There's a lot to say. I think overall, all three of us are on the same page, but there's a lot to cover. So, Chrome, you go first.
I'm happy to go first on this one.
Immediate reactions from the trade.
Yeah, well, listen, I think it's a fantastic deal. You know, this is one of those deals. I'm not worrying about the back end of a contract, okay? Because that's not the purpose that you make a move like this. Guys like him don't become available to where when you are at that point where you're doing max, that they're going to be, you know, unless you're a LeBron who you know that people are going to want you when you're 39 years old and you can do a 2-year deal over and over. This is what happens. You take risks on these guys. You have a bona fide top 50 to 75 player in the history of the game, one of the greatest players of his generation, a guy who still can go out there and ball. I don't want to hear about the injury and all that, the injury that we have going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I look at this, and this is the typical Philadelphia mentality, and I freaking hate it. We gave up too much, right? Don't give up Maxey. Don't give up Thibault.
They didn't.
Right. So they give up a 2022 pick, which is going to be a late first-round pick. So that's kind of a roll.
It's protected as hell.
It's a roll of the dice. And they gave up a 2027 pick, which, by the way, I'll worry about 2027's NBA draft closer to 2027, okay? But and I don't want to say that they got robbed. I really, truly believe this is a deal that is ideal for both. Now, would I have liked Patty Mills back?
Yep.
In return, yes, I would have. However, unbeknownst until a little while ago, I don't even remember where I heard it from, but apparently Patty Mills is a mentor to Ben Simmons, which may be a large factor into why, and it was common sense, right, Pete? Like, I know he's Australian. He was on his hell, he played on the Australian national team with the Olympic team with Matisse. But common sense didn't click in my head, right? But I mean, would I have loved to have had him back? Sure. But let's kind of break this down. You have Ben Simmons, who everybody says has no value, and he's not getting traded. He has no value, and he's sitting there. He's never coming back and stepping on the court, putting on the uniform for the Sixers. Okay? So that's gone. So now let's look at the production of where this team is at, right? We're like, oh my God, we lost Seth Curry. We lost shooting. Okay, first of all, I love Seth. Okay? He shoots at an efficient clip. But Seth is as streaky as it possibly can get, right? Yep. He might put 23 up one night, and he might go 1 for 7 or maybe not even take that many shots and put up 6 in a night. Okay? He plays a little bit of defense, which is nice. But when you look at what James Harden is going to provide you on the offensive side of the football, and by the way, all the naysayers saying, well, how is he, Joel performs better with the ball in his hands. How's James Harden going to do? Because he's going to want the ball in his hands. Has anybody watched what kind of player he's been over the last few years, who distributes the basketball, who doesn't
10.5 assists a game.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't need to salvage. And then look at his numbers in the 16 games he played with KD. Look at the numbers. He played a lot more than 16 games with KD. It was with all of them, there was 16 games. But you look at his games that he played with KD, look at the numbers. Look at how he distributed the basketball, okay? So let's get that idea. That's a lazy take. That, I don't know how they're going to fit. He's going to be very selfish and this and that.
That's so wrong. That's so incorrect.
You look, I love Seth, but there's a million Seths in the league. Maybe not quite, maybe in terms of the three-point efficiency.
I wouldn't say a million.
No, but Patty Mills is better than Seth. There's literally
he gives you more on the defensive side, yeah.
So, I mean, Seths are easy to come by, okay? They really are. They're not, he shoots maybe a tenth or a hundredth of a percentage better than other, a couple guys in the league. It's not really that big of a deal, right? When you look at what James Harden is bringing on the offensive side of the ball. Because remember, you're not getting anything from Ben Simmons. You're looking at this team as this team is constructed and what you're getting back in production. Are you going to miss Drummond? Yes, I think you'll miss him. However, again, people act like he's losing a long-term piece. He signed a veteran minimum 1-year deal. Who, let's be honest, was probably had a chance of probably walking at the end of the year because it looks like there's going to be a team that's going to need a center, doesn't need to score, but they need to play defense and grab rebounds, and he's done enough to possibly earn himself a starting job or a raise. So at the end of the day, we weren't bringing him back anyway. So the other factor that I'm hearing nobody talk about, which is unbelievable to me, is the buyout market. Because there are going to be centers. We're talking about Enes Kanter might be out there. Well, probably will be out there. Talking about Tristan Thompson, who my one buddy said it best. You go out and get a Tristan Thompson on the buyout market. And make no mistake about it, guys. James Harden and Joel Embiid are an attraction for guys in the buyout market to come to. We're not talking about, hopefully we've seen it before where we thought we were when we had Ben Simmons, Joel, and Tobias, right? And nobody wanted to come here. Nobody did. They signed everywhere else. Trust that James Harden and Joel Embiid together with Tobias here, with a winner like Danny Green here, with young guys like Maxey and Matisse here, this is a destination now for these guys to come in on the veteran minimum deal and try to win a ring. 100%. Millsap is, he's not really that good.
Not anymore.
21. I mean, at this point in his career, he's a veteran. They might buy him out. That's been put out there that he might be a buyout for us to open up a roster spot and then maybe hit the buyout market and bring in a second guy, right? But at the end of the day, guys, it makes too much sense. Your draft picks were the cost to not have to give up your young prospects. And at the end of the day, they're cap friendly. You have a growing offensive and defensive star in Maxey, who has made major strides this year. Matisse, little bit on the shooting side. I wish that would improve a little bit more. But you're talking about one of the top ranked defensive players in the entire NBA. You kept these pieces. So crucial in sports where youth is always the ultimate buck, right? Youth is when you're talking about the cost of things, young players, young controllable players, that's the $100 bill, right? That's the big that's when you start dishing out the hundos. So it just makes so much sense. We overvalue guys like Seth Curry here, who would never in a million years should ever even be a thought of holding up any kind of a deal for a guy like a James Harden. The back end, not going to look great. Guess what? You guys love Bryce Harper. Wait till the back end of that contract, okay?
Yep.
This is what happens in pro sports. So you can't worry about that. You say you go out and you get him. You go for these 2, 3, or 4 year window. And guess what? If he really stinks over the next year and a half, they don't have to extend him to a max deal after that, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is it. This is your window. And if you win this year, you win next year, it was all worth it. I don't care if Ben Simmons becomes LeBron James 2.0. It was never going to happen here, and it was completely and 100% worth. Seth ain't ever becoming Steph, that's for sure. So you really, in the long term, you didn't lose much, if anything. And, it makes sense for the Nets. Ben can go there and distribute the ball, and he can play great defense and rebound the basketball. So it makes sense for him. And I said it last night, guys. I said it a couple of days. I'll say it again, and then I'll let you guys go. I'm sorry. I had so much to say, but
I know
at the end of the day, we all know it. Sixers had more leverage than people thought that they did. Nets had some leverage as well. But at the end of the day, the Sixers were a better team with James Harden than they were with Ben Simmons. And the Nets were going to be a better team with Ben Simmons when you look at how the team is constructed on the court than they are with James Harden in that lineup. Both teams win in this deal. And for us, for them, they're set. They are essentially set. For us, there will be a move or two on the buyout market. And in this league, playoff rosters shrink.
Yes.
So they don't need much. In terms of what was on the roster, guys, you can replace Drummond with Cantor or Tristan Thompson, or there'll be a couple. I heard Olynyk might be a buyout. You can replace him, and those guys are more than comparable for the backup. You're basically right now trading Seth for James Harden in terms of how this team is constructed.
And 2 picks,
And
2 picks. Two irrelevant picks to us,
I'm taking the 2 picks out because that was what kept you your young guys.
Yeah.
I'm saying Seth for James Harden, done deal. Team is exceedingly better.
Yes.
Now we just got to get these guys on the court now. See what, and if Millsap can contribute, great. Listen, he's a veteran. He's been an all-star in his career. I love having, with young guys, having a voice like that. I'm really curious to see how Bassey's going to look too, by the way.
Yep. Bigger role.
An opportunity. He has a physical makeup of somebody that could do something in this league. So I'm curious to see what he's going to look like. Maybe he's your answer at the backup center. Now he'll have an opportunity before they dive into that buyout market. But great trade. And anyone who thinks that they overpaid, you don't understand nothing. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but I'm going to be a dick about it because it's just typical Philadelphia nonsense that we fall in love with guys and we overvalue picks and we do this and that. Hey, if you're a Phillies fan, how many of these prospects and these picks and all this different crap have you held on to? Look at Eagles fans. How many of those picks turned into something? Sixers fans, how many of those picks turned into something over the years, aside from Ben and aside from Joel? How many of those picks, right?
Right.
But you got James Harden. You got James Harden, an all-time player still at an age who can produce at an all-time clip. So, sorry.
You want to go next?
Who am I yelling at? Who's going to tell me it's not good? Because I'm going to
No. See, what pissed me off is where I saw people saying, "Oh, Daryl Morey was holding on to him, and then he kept saying he's going to get a start, and he ended up getting fleeced. They're getting fleeced. Sixers got fleeced."
Who was saying that?
People ask this dumb people. This is my thing. I think the trade is a win-win. You have to realize, as a Sixers fan, when's the last time that we had 2 players on the same team that were in the top 15 in the league, maybe arguably top 10, and that's just James Harden. We haven't had that in my lifetime.
Pete, there are people in this city, and I'm telling you, I seen it today, this morning, who still think that Ben Simmons is a top 15 player in the league.
Oh God, Jesus Christ!
No,
and who really legitimately believe that he would play another game in a Sixers uniform.
And that's my other point, Chrome. Like you said, they took an asset who wasn't even doing anything for them and still was in the top 2 or 3 of the East, 2 games out of being in first place, made a team player. And if Harden gives you anything, he's giving you more than something that what Ben was giving you at all, sitting at home and being paid for do nothing. And now you had $133 million left on Ben. Now you got Harden, who already opted into his $47 million option next year. So it's 2 years, $85 million versus 4 more years of $133. That's a win. This is the other thing. The Nets in the position that they're in, you got fucking Simmons and Kyrie Irving now on the same team. Work that shit the fuck out. You better have you better have a fucking couch and a site there on call for both of them. Because you got one dude who, if you holler at him wrong, he bitches up. He don't want to take a shot. Then you got the other dude who think the earth is flat, and you know what I mean. And I don't get it. He shows up when he wants. He takes sabbaticals from the NBA and still getting paid millions of dollars. And then you got KD who don't want to brush his hair, and he's probably sitting here now like, what the hell am I doing here? It's just me that wants the ball. You see what I'm saying? You got a dude in Simmons who we don't know how long he's going to take for him to play. He's probably not going to play in 4 weeks when they play here because he's going to sit out.
See, because I thought that the vibe I got was maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
But that's right around the time they're supposed to be back here. Trust me, trust and believe. But this is my thing. Nobody's seen this kid ball. He hasn't been playing against NBA competition. And this is the biggest thing. I hit this with Nate earlier today. People forget Ben mentally didn't want to play here because he couldn't carry the weight, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't want to shoot this and that. Yeah, he can go to a team now where he doesn't have to be a main focal point to score, but there's trust and fucking believe. There's going to come a time in the playoffs this year where they're going to lock down Kyrie. They're going to lock down KD. It's going to be in the fourth quarter. Ben, what are you going to do? You may not have the same pressure, but those moments of pressure are going to exist. This is what I urge.
At some point, the ball's going to end up in his hands, Pete, and he's going to have to shoot free throws.
Right. I caution all Nets fans to be prepared because you have to understand it wasn't just Ben on the court. It's Ben's character that made him bitch up like that.
Yo, and you think Philly's bad? Wait till he's in that New York market.
Bro, listen, you get up there, you start. You lucky this ain't the Knicks, because if this is the Knicks, there's no way he's built for that. There's no way he's built for that. But now, Knicks following is diminishing. Brooklyn following is gaining. This is what Brooklyn got the better of the deal long term, in my opinion, if Ben ends up being right.
Agreed.
You have a window here as the Sixers where you have 2 to 3 years and you need it to make yourself better. And you may actually have this year to where you realize, I don't know how long Embiid can play at this level. We thought he couldn't get better than last year, and now he's better than last year. So he keeps pushing his ceiling further and further and further and higher. You have to capitalize on a window to give him the best chance to succeed and win. And listen, we seen Harden last year when he got out of Houston, got to Brooklyn. My man lost 20 pounds miraculously. It was in great shape, was dishing the ball. Is he the shooter he was
he's like a bodysuit
years ago? No, he's not the shooter he was 4 or 5 years ago. But in the fourth quarter now, you actually have some type of resemblance of a half-court offense and crunch time in games, and you have somebody where you can play a two-man game with. And like Chrome said, the buyout market, we're going to see. I hope. Look, Dennis Schroeder just got shipped off to Houston. Now you can have guards. Now Dennis Schroeder's not a good shooter, but at the same time, he plays hard on both ends of the floor. And now you look at guys to be your 6th, 7th, 8th depth.
Well, Eric Gordon or Bledsoe, those names are guys who might be out
Bledsoe, I'm looking to see maybe I got to see some type of shooters or another wing. You know what I mean? Like a 3 or maybe a 4, like Millsap and Niang as your 4s. And you still kept Tobias. I was actually shocked because I almost thought Tobias was on his way out for a salary dump. But then once Harden opted in for his next year with the $47 million, it's like, all right, let's just bite the bullet. Let's just try to win what we got. Let's try to win what we got. And
at that point,
the attraction now. Go ahead, Chrome.
Well, to add to that with the Tobias point you're making too, by him opting in, right, for the next year, after this year, Tobias becomes an expiring, or after next year, he goes into the final year of his deal. Yep. So then at that point, if you need to move Tobias for whatever reason, whether it's production or he's not producing, he's an asset that other teams would be interested in as an expiring contract that you can go out and make another move. So I think it's really important actually that he extended or he picked up that option, because some people look at it as, are we delaying the inevitable by giving him yet another year, then a max deal after the fact, or vice versa. I say no. I think one way or the other, you're gonna have to. It's not gonna look good on the back end. These never do. We're looking at Westbrook.
That's when you got to realize if you're going to extend him again.
You're looking at Russ right now, right? If you and I think that they will. I mean, personally, I think Daryl Morey will. Right. But that being said, it's never going to look good on the back end. However, you have a window, Pete, like you said, man. And you can't worry about that back end. You can't worry about a draft pick in 2027. You know what? By then, we might be moving. Maybe we can't re-sign a Maxey, or maybe we can't re-sign a Matisse, and they build up a stock. And guess what? You trade them for a first-round draft pick down the road. You know what I'm saying? I mean, 2027 pick at some point is likely to come back around one way or the other. Let's be real. When you're talking about 5 years from now. And by the way, I love that the NBA does this, by the way. Doesn't allow you to trade away back-to-back first-round draft picks. Love that. I love that for the competitive balance of the league. I think that's a huge thing. Side note. But anyway, good. I'm sorry. I mean to cut you off.
No, I'm pretty much done. I don't see where you can look at either side and say one team got robbed, one team got fleeced. I think the Sixers were in an envious position because where 2 weeks ago, Morey wasn't looking at this harder situation doesn't develop. Morey doesn't look good because he said from the onset, I'm not trading him for nothing. I need to start back. So when Harden's whole thing developed, now that came your opportunity to get Harden and really save face. And I forgot. I knew Harden was tight with Morey, but I forgot that Harden is tight with Rubin. That's the bigger concern. That's when you talk about the money and on the back end. But like you said, these things can get ugly. It's you have to do what you have to do now, because Ben was never going to play for you again. It was just going to be money down the drain, sight unseen, and you knew you weren't winning a chip with the team that they had.
Well, it's like the NFL, Pete. Yeah. It's not that they're not, the money's not down the drain. He's not getting paid. He's getting fined. But it's like having a dead cap hit. Yeah, that you can't use that money to improve the team. It's just sitting there like a dead cap hit.
And you consider the fact that he's supposed to be one of your core players. He's supposed to be part of your big three. Not having him play at all this season was supposed to be a huge loss. And in terms of overall, like what you're supposed to be, it's a loss not having him on the roster playing. But now you're able to get something back from it. I think that's huge. That goes to, I mean, we're talking about Morey was not even too long ago. I mean, how many people were scrutinizing him for messing up this Ben situation, saying he should have done it, should have done it sooner. He waited too long. Morey he stuck to his guns and he said, I want a significant player back for Ben. I'm not getting rid of him for scraps. He stuck to it, and it was risky. He got scrutinized, but look what happened. You guys alluded to already, so there's no need for me to rehash it, but he deserves credit for that. He was able to do what he intended to do. Yep. He stuck to his guns and was confident in his move and saying, hey, I'm going to be patient, because trading Ben away for nothing isn't going to get this team anywhere. Right. So he was right in it. And, you guys talk about it being a win-win. I absolutely believe that. I have friends who are Nets fans. I have several friends who are Nets fans, unfortunately. But they were asking me for opinions on the trade. I told them I honestly think it's win-win for both teams. It makes sense for both teams. You have two teams who have players who didn't want to be there anymore. So right off the bat, it made perfect sense for both. But what you guys have said, for the Nets, it helps them build long-term if they need to. They have the draft picks. They're getting younger. And Ben is only 25 years old. So it makes sense for them. Whereas for us, we are exactly what you said, Pete. Yep. We're in win now mode. The window is right now. Like, we don't know. And God forbid, knock on wood, we don't know.
See, real quick, time out. Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, all failed. They not at NFL honors. Look who's on the stage right now. This is why I may be changing my fucking pick, because Cooper Kupp is here collecting awards while Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase is giving each other pinky shakes while they off, but now probably sitting in front of film and practicing all over again. I'm just saying. It shows you where the two different teams at. It just show you where the teams is at.
But yeah, I get you. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so with the Sixers, the window is now. They have to win now. like knock on wood, God forbid. What if Joel Embiid doesn't have 3 more years of this level of play? What if the injuries start to mount up, catch up to him, and he's not able to sustain MVP type of play 3 years from now?
That's a fair concern, Chucks.
Huh?
It's a fair concern because you talk about especially big men with the wear and tear already on his body. There's no guarantee that
you have to do right by Joel and be smart about, hey, he is arguably the best player in the world right now. You have to win right now. You could argue that last year was a missed opportunity, and it was, but you have a chance this year to fix that. You have a chance, even bigger chance this year to win. And so being able to unload a guy who wasn't doing anything for your roster right now, for a James Harden who wanted to be here. He wanted to be in Philadelphia playing with Joe.
He wanted to be here last year.
Yes, correct. So that is huge because Harden, it doesn't matter how old he is. I get it. He's what, 33, something like that. He's still a superstar. And that's me. And I've never been the biggest Harden fan. I will say it now, even with him being a Sixer. Even with him being a Sixer, personally, me,
he just does everything good.
I've never been the biggest Harden fan, and I probably still won't be a huge Harden fan, but I've never denied the fact that he is a superstar talent, and one of the best offensive players in the league. I've never denied that. He's just not my cup of tea, but having him here is huge, and the way that him and Embiid are going to be able to work that pick and roll is going to be phenomenal. So I have no concerns about how they're going to be able to make it work on the court. I do think that,
and Tobias slides
correct,
the number 3 role instead of the number 2 at this point, which is better suited for him.
Better for him.
It's going to be alleviate a little bit of the pressure on him, and now maybe his production will go up because he'll have his opportunities. Harden's going to find him and distribute the ball to him. He's going to stretch out the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's going to give him an opportunity. And he's been playing really well. It's going to give him an opportunity to continue to earn the value of that contract, which to this point overall has been drastically overpaid. And I'm a Tobias guy.
Yeah.
The facts are the facts. It's a bad contract at this point. But he has an opportunity to turn that perception around. And I think having James Harden there helps that.
I mean, last year he was playing so well, and then he kind of crumbled in the playoffs a bit. So
second round he wasn't great. He was inconsistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Had a couple good games, had a couple not great games at all.
Yeah.
Had some games he just missed wide open layups.
But now like you said, you don't have to rely on him being consistent as much because you have Harden, you have the ability to what I'm trying to say. Like you have more of a leeway, more room to say, hey, like if Tobias is having a bad night, it's okay because you have faith in Joel and in Harden to be able to pick up that slack. And even more so now with Maxey. Maxey has proven if he needs to, he can score. He's developed leaps and bounds from last year, earning now that starting role, that starting spot on the roster. So he's another guy who's going to contribute. You're
going to get Shake back at some point.
Yes, as your backup. And I know, like I'm not the biggest Shake fan. I know there are people that aren't the biggest Shake fans, but you can't deny the fact that when Shake is on, he can score the ball. So when Shake has his moments, when needed, he can score the damn ball. So in the playoffs, when like what you said, Chrome, when your roster shrinks and you don't use those bench players as much, the impact the negative impact that a Shake will have on your team is going to be minimized. So it's not as drastic as some people are concerned about. You know, I hate seeing Seth go because I think Seth has developed since getting here. He was only a 3-point specialist when we got him, and I think he's developed his game over time since last year. He's become a more well-rounded player, able to put the ball on the ground and drive a little bit and hit those mid-range jumpers. I think he's become a better all-around offensive player and a better defensive player. So I love seeing his growth. He's a guy that I love cheering for. So in that aspect, I hate seeing him go, but in no way am I saying that in no way am I hating this trade because of Seth Curry.
I like Seth Curry.
There's no way
personally.
I'm rejecting this trade because of Seth Curry.
I like Seth Curry personally. Okay, there's a lot of guys I've liked over time personally. Not many of them are keeping me from making any kind of a move that gets me a Hall of Fame player to play with my young MVP caliber stud. And to your point, Chucks, that you were mentioning, that I wanted to jump in earlier because I think it's a very important point. Talking about accountability, right? And what this organization owes Joel Embiid. Because Joel has clearly been the face of this organization for a while, long before this Ben Simmons stuff started going on. Everybody saw whose team this is, okay? And at the end of the day, with everything that they've gone through, with the fact that they made a very clear, and a lot of us said it, poor decision by sticking with Brett Brown and Ben Simmons and letting Jimmy Butler walk, who Jimmy Butler, even more than Harden, if there's one player in the league, one single solitary player in the league that was made to play with Joel Embiid, it was Jimmy Butler. And they let him walk. You owe this to Joel, who at this point in his career is playing at this level. You don't worry about 5 years from now. You give this man this opportunity at this point in his career to win a title. And if you got to go out and you got to get James Harden, knowing that 2 years you're going to be paying him $60 million each year and it's going to suck ass to do it, he's not going to be very good. But you're giving your star, the face of your organization, honestly, the face of the city of Philadelphia professional sports right now, you're giving him an opportunity to win a ring at the best opportunity in his career when he's busting his ass every night for the last 2 years for this team. Absolutely. That's accountability. That's the point you start giving it back to Joe, who's putting the work in now, showing he wants to be the star of this team, showing he wants to be the face of the city, and ingraining himself into this city. This is the time that you do this move. And you don't let Seth Curry be the reason you don't do it. You don't let Andre Drummond or any of these other fucking guys be the reason you do it. Or the guy sitting home who is a complete and utter disgrace to everything. And I've talked about the mental health excuse that he's using. I think it's bullshit and it's a disgrace.
Oh, I was going to touch on that.
People
Thank
like
you.
us
Oh my God, thank you. I was going to use
that.
it. Yes.
So fuck him for that. I'll tell you that. Absolute. And this is going to start a new trend now, boys. Anyone who wants to get out of a team that doesn't want to play there, I guarantee this is going to be a new thing now. But taking that out, this is where the accountability comes in. And this is where we repay our superstar player for being the guy he is, for the effort he puts in and night out. And this was the move to make. This was the only move to make. It wasn't for Halliburton. It wasn't for trash pieces that can contribute a little something here and there in 10 and 15-minute spurts. He deserved to have another star player, not to have to put everybody on his back yet again, which is why I have backed Daryl Morey. And even if it took until the summer to get it to next year, I have backed his decision to wait because he was absolutely right. Just because he wants to be a crybaby little bitch and sit home doesn't mean that Joel Embiid should have to suffer by putting everything on his back just to get rid of him for his headache. We're not appeasing you, Ben. This is about appeasing this team and the star player on this team and getting him the right pieces that he deserves to have him in the best position to succeed. And that's why Daryl Morey was 1,000% right from day one. And in a city where we sat here and watched them tell us they were going to lose for 10 years, we're going to cry about an extra 6 months that I heard everybody crying about yesterday, and I heard everybody crying about for the first half of this season, is a joke. And I'm glad it got done. This is exactly what needed to happen. Daryl Morey, give you one of these, give you a Barry Horowitz right here, because you freaking deserve it. And absolutely. So anyone who questioned how good of an executive that Daryl Morey is, Look at what he did when he came here, and look at what he's doing now. Look at this, and you're going to see the results on the court. You're going to see the result. And James Harden, this groin issue is going to go away real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
It is.
You have a Hall of Fame player that wants to play with your star. And here's another point, guys. Something I didn't even think about. And then I'll defer to you guys. Somebody made the point to me. You see all these guys who want to play with their buddies, right? But they're all the old guard.
Mm-hmm.
The Durants and Kyries. And Joel is now entering that age where all these young guys
Want to play
who
with
are coming
him?
into the league now are going to say, oh, when I was 15, 16, Joel Embiid was the player that I watched. He's the guy I always wanted to play with.
Are we frozen?
Did we lose him? I think we lost him for a second.
Yeah, I can see that. Him and Lillard, D. Lil.
Yeah.
Those
So,
are
like,
the two.
When
Those are the two.
he was real quick, while we wait to get Chrome back, when
Yep.
you mentioned
Rodgers won.
about,
Son of a bitch.
I know, I told you. You back? You good?
Am I back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Over here. Okay, go ahead.
No, just say, the point was made to me that, and it's so true that he's becoming that guy now who these young cats are going to come in the league and say, I've always, that's the guy I've always wanted to play with, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point that Kevin Durant's been at over the last couple of years, and LeBron, it's Embiid's turn now where he's going to be the guy these kids want to play with. So by putting him in a position now to show this organization wants to win is going to open a lot of eyes. And like we said, as far as the buyout market goes, James Harden and Joel Embiid, that's something people want to play with. No offense, Seth, but not Embiid, Tobias, some nights Seth Curry when he contributes. That's not what it is. James Harden, Joel Embiid, guys who are going to want to come here. And again, going forward, when guys are looking for places to move, Joel Embiid's going to be that one of those star attraction tickets. Like everybody wants to play with KD, everybody wants to play with LeBron, everybody wants to. Well, we hope it. We think at some point people are going to want to play with Dame, but it seems like nobody can play over there in Portland right now.
Well, they need to get a big man. They can't have a wing player.
I don't care what they're doing there in Portland. Dame needs to get out of Portland.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's at the point now where it's just it doesn't need that. Aaron Rodgers MVP. I'll be honest. I actually think Tom Brady, in hindsight, should have probably won the MVP this year.
Yeah, now this is send off and sentimental favorite, but I mean, I thought it should be Burrow. That's my opinion. I think he actually deserved it more for where his team is at now and where they were at last year compared now.
It's weird because sometimes I don't think playoffs should be included in this stuff, but then other times I look and I'm like,
I was saying,
I don't know, man.
I think playoffs should be included.
Yeah.
Like the legacy of it is going to be tainted anyway. Like,
Yeah.
like if they have a deep run, then maybe not so much. But like, people are always going to remember Aaron Rodgers won the MVP this year. And when people talk about it, they're going to be like, yeah, remember what he did in the first round of the playoffs, though?
Yeah, exactly.
So
2
like,
years in a row.
for
Exactly.
that, I'm like, maybe it's something that maybe we should just hold off and let playoffs be a part of it because people are going to talk about it anyway. Let's be real. Nobody ever wins the awards that isn't a playoff unless it's like a rookie, like rookies, maybe like a rookie of the year. But in terms of MVP, offensive, defensive player of the year, it's usually playoff team types of people. So, I don't know.
No, I agree. I said it earlier. I always thought it should include playoffs, but it's never.
Don, before we get out of here, Don asks us a good question. He says, "So are the Sixers a title contender right now, or should I say a favorite to make it out of the East?" I say title contender, yes. To make it out of the East, no, because Serge Ibaka went to the Bucks. The Bucks got better today too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick against the Bucks. You know, they were a good team already. Like you said, when you got Serge going there, and honestly, it's not even a place that necessarily absolutely needed him. It's like the rich get richer when you get somebody like that there. The East is very open.
Wide open.
Are they a contender? Yes, they're absolutely. I don't think they were a legitimate title contender before this trade. I just don't.
Now they are.
Now I think they're
Mr.
a
Wing,
legitimate title
Mr.
contender.
Wing says Nets are the favorite. I don't agree to that.
Me
Until you show me Ben Simmons is actually playing
Nobody
at
can
a high
even get.
level, and Kyrie Irving is playing more than half of the games, I don't see them as a favorite.
Half the team hasn't played together. Hell, Kyrie and KD in 2 years haven't played together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's real hard to put them. And next year would be a different conversation, I think, in terms of what Brooklyn is. They have to lift the mandates, and they have to get Kyrie on the court because at this point he can't play half the playoff games either.
Yeah.
So maybe it's good for them that they don't get a top seed so that they have less home games. I'm just saying.
That's interesting strategy.
If it's
Very
a possibility, right?
Yeah. No, I
That's a
hear you.
legitimate thing.
Yeah.
Looking closer to the playoffs, maybe you want to stay out of the top 4 seeds and go for one of the to stay out of the play. What is it? The top 6 teams make it, and then the play-in is for the last 2 spots, right?
Yes.
So maybe you want that 6th seed. Maybe you just want to sit right at that 6th seed, so you got less home games.
Oh man, I can see that. I can see
Just
that.
saying.
Yep.
It's like my whole idea of like when COVID was running rampant, and I was like, maybe you all just give it to each other like a month before like 6 weeks before the season ends. So now you don't have to worry about anybody getting it right before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a terrible idea, but it's also a great idea at the same time, considering what we thought it was.
Oh, guys, look, it is future Eagles quarterback Russell Wilson presenting Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
I guess we should stay on for that before we hop off, right?
But it was I wanted to just touch on what you mentioned earlier about the mental health thing. I think we all kind of hint or had a suspicion that it was a little bit BS.
Washington beat the Nets tonight without Bradley Beal.
And Kyrie was in the lineup.
He was in the lineup.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that he used that excuse as a reason is showing now that, because he's going to play eventually, is a big slap in the face of people that have legitimate mental health issues. It's a terrible look. And if you are a player that's flawed on the court, that's one thing. If you are a player that is so soft mentally that you can't take criticism to improve your game, that's another. But if you're someone that is literally willing to use something as serious as mental illness, especially in a city who has 2 beloved players that advocate for mental health as much as they do in Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson, to be able to use that as an excuse the way you do is absolutely despicable. Absolutely despicable. And that should be talked about more, because I think it's a scumbag move. I think it's immoral, and it's a slap in the face of people that actually have legitimate issues. And it doesn't help. I know we've made strides as a society bringing awareness to mental health issues. I mean, years ago, you talk about this and you had a good number of people that laughed at you, that thought it was a joke, that mental health wasn't a serious thing. Glad it's not the case, but you doing something like this is one of the reasons why people said stuff like that, because people brought examples like this and said, oh, this person's just using it as an excuse and not really attacking the real issue. I fought against that mindset and that myth for so long, but it doesn't help that Ben Simmons is someone that's going to take advantage of that. So I think that's despicable, and I think I've lost, losing respect as a player, as a basketball player, is one thing, because your game, that is what it is. But off the court, losing respect for you as a human being
Yeah.
is even worse.
It'd be interesting to have a conversation about, but I think it's fair to say, and if I'm wrong, maybe we'll have a conversation down the road. Ben Simmons might be the biggest villain in Philadelphia sports history. I don't even think it's close at this point.
Yeah.
He might literally
Yeah.
be the most hated athlete professional in any professional sport in the city of Philadelphia.
Yep.
Away or home player. Visiting or home player.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's close.
I've been leaning toward that for a while now. So I do agree. All right, gentlemen. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No.
Did we announce who won the World
Andrew
Cup?
Whitworth.
Oh, nice. Another Rams player.
Another Rams player getting awards before the big game.
Are they there?
Yeah, he's there.
Is he there?
I think he's there. He knew ahead of time he was winning. I think. It's a big dude. It's a big man.
Dude. Former Bengal too, so that's an interesting dynamic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We'll it should be a good game, though. Should be a good game.
Don. That's funny. Don. All right, guys. Great show. We did go a little longer for No Huddle for obvious reasons. Good conversation. We've got, like I said at the top of the show, the pinnacle, the culmination of this 2022 NFL season coming this Sunday. It's going to be an awesome game, I believe. But no matter what, no matter where you're watching, who you're watching with, guys, if you're listening to us, make sure you enjoy the game no matter what. Have fun. I always believe this. This event, the Super Bowl, I always saw it as an American holiday, and I still believe that. So whether you're there to watch the actual game or whether you're there just to socialize at your Super Bowl party or whether you're there to just watch the halftime show or whether you're there to just watch the commercials, enjoy it, have fun, and cherish it because this is the last football game we're going to get until September. So
and stay tuned because we might. I don't want to say anything because I don't know if anybody. I don't know if it's 100%. I'm pretty sure it is. Might be doing something special here on ATD for the Super Bowl as well.
Possibility.
Yes.
So just stay tuned and keep your eyes and ears open for anything that might drop down for that.
Exactly. And hey, if the A2D does, we'll be able to watch it with you guys. So yeah.
And as far as lazy booking goes, I hope to have an announcement on that pretty soon as well.
Ooh, nice.
We'll see.
So guys, if you're still listening, thank you for tuning in so much. You know we appreciate all of you who tune into us every single week, and not just us. Every show on our radio station, we've got a show every single day. So we appreciate your support. We thank you. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Thank you for tuning in to us all football season long. We hope that we were able to give you great football insight this season. And remember, for us, the football talk doesn't stop. Draft season's coming along. Free agency's coming along. The NFL offseason is still action-packed. There's always football to talk about. So make sure you keep tuning in every week. Two birds of a feather. To all of our sponsors, especially our show sponsor, Fan Up, which is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL content, and more. Thank you to them. And to everyone, what's up?
He's
I found out last night that they do Bachelor and Bachelorette bets too, by the way.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Put your money. Hey, listen, Mara from Collingswood, she's still hanging in. I'm just saying. I gotta watch the second half of last night. This week's episode. I didn't see if Genevieve went home yet or Shanae. So we'll have to see. They did the 1-on-1 where one goes, and I didn't see it yet. So hopefully Genevieve stays because Shanae's a real bitch. But we'll see. Stay tuned, guys, and place your bets on Fan Up.
Oh my God. Oh my God. By the way, Book of Boba Fett finale was phenomenal. So
actually about to watch that now.
Your boy Pete, your boy Chrome, and your boy Chucks. We thank you. Be safe. God bless. Enjoy Super Bowl 56, and we will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.
Kyle Shanahan sucks.